What's up, everybody? It's Ben here. I am working on my son's YXZ, doing a couple of minor things. Basically, I'm taking off all the white plastics that were down the middle of the car and replacing them with some fresh blue ones that I had painted to match. So I've already done this hood piece, which is arguably the hardest one because you have to release the most fasteners to raise it up. But anyways, while I'm doing this, I've got to switch over my or move over my Switch Pro, which I put there. And if you watched my assembly video for this car last year, you saw me, cut that in on the Switch Pro video. I like that location, but so this new piece that I've got here, I bought used and had painted, of course, but it already has some holes up top, and I'm considering some other stuff down the road with this car, so I don't want to cut a hole right there in that fresh one. So I'm gonna mount it up top. And I also happen to have, this is a DynoJet Power Commander 5 Pod 300 is the model. It's basically a little screen that you can do diagnostics, you can record, and yeah, it has a little gauge set up. Anyways, I had this in my old YXZ and I happen to still have it laying around. So Weller, I was at Weller recently in Chandler, Arizona, near Phoenix, and I got one of these cool mounts. So they make various dash plates for the YXZ. I have one hand, so I'm going to. And as usual with all Weller parts, they have fantastic packaging and very complete kits. So this is one of their dash plates. And I've never had this particular configuration, but they make many different options in this plate that fits the YXZ. And so this one is designed for a Switch Pro on one side and a Pod 300 on the other. And so I just thought it was a good opportunity to go ahead and put this in. So that's where it goes. And I'm just basically gonna start working on getting that mounted properly, and then I've got to drill some holes, kind of some bigger holes for the wires to run through. No big deal, easy to do. And this thing comes apart from the back if you need to do that. I don't think I need to do that. I usually just cut a big enough hole here that I can access the back of what I need to through the plastic. That way I don't have to unmount the plate from the plastic. But anyways, I'll get into that a little bit. But that's all, just kind of updating that. And I also got some stickers. So when I took off the white, I got a reflective Yamaha decal that's there, and I got a reflective tuning fork decal on the roof now. So that's gonna be cool at night. I can already see it like reflecting in the cameras in the shop here at night. Whenever the infrared cameras hit it, it lights up the reflective graphics at night. It's really cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing that in the dunes at night. It's gonna be cool. And I got the same decals for Brooklyn's red car as well. So I'll put those on. And okay, so that's it. Gonna get over there and start drilling some holes and mounting this plate now. My next door neighbors are having like a kid's birthday party or something, so you might hear that if you got your speakers up or your headphones up. It's awesome. I love hearing people having a good time. So all I'm doing is just gonna mark these holes. There's not really any template or anything for this other than the actual parts, which is kind of nice. And I'm just kind of lining it up visually, making a circle. This does not line up with any of the factory holes in this piece of plastic. So from the factory, these are little rivet holes where the warning plates are from the factory. Of course, most everybody takes them off or whatever, but these do not line up because this Weller plate wouldn't be big enough to fit the items we need if it you know, was that narrow. So doesn't matter. I am just gonna drill those out in a second. For now, I'm going to use, so the Switch Pro has and comes with these little studs. This one did not come out from my previous install, so I'm going to just leave it in there. These studs just go straight through these holes, and then the Pod 300 has these two spots. And I don't know if the Pod 300 comes with screws or bolts that fit in there or studs. I don't have them, even if I did, because like I say, this, or even if it did come with them, I don't have them. So the great thing is Weller provides them. So they're the right length, and here they are, little Allen heads. So that's all. The Switch Pro's keypad is nice in that the wiring, first of all, it's very low profile, and the wiring just goes directly through the back, whereas this Pod 300, you see the wire come out the side, which I think is ridiculous, but that's just the way DynoJet made it, and we got to deal with it. No big deal. This is the first time I'm using these Milwaukee tools. It's kind of a test. I have not purchased new tools yet for my new shop setup and everything. If you've been following me, you've probably seen my new tool cases and boxes and everything here where I'm working. And I haven't loaded them up with some new tools yet. I've been kind of hacking through my old tool set, just laying around. But I got some pack out that I use on the trail, and I'm thinking about loading up with all Milwaukee here in the shop. So I'm trying to purposefully use my trail tools to get some experience with this Milwaukee stuff. So far I like it. I think it's pretty cool. So of course I use Milwaukee power tools. Everybody I know does, and I love them. I think they're great. We use them at work. We use them all places, but I've never used Milwaukee's mechanics tools. So now I am, and I think I'm gonna get them for my house or my shop. I don't have a torque value or anything for this, just not very much. These are nylon lock nuts, so you don't really have to tighten them much. You don't have to put Loctite on them or anything, and that's it. And the Switch Pro does come with these, which I used on the back of the plastic. I'm sure you saw me take it off that white plastic a minute ago, but I'm not using them on this metal plate because it's metal on metal, so I don't think it's needed. So that's the Switch Pro, and now the Pod 300, and I am gonna go ahead and run the wire through as well. I think you have to. So I had this Power Commander 5 and Pod 300 in one of my old cars, my first YXZ. It was a 2016 model, and I actually did like 2 or 3 different builds. I kept progressing my build, and Weller did the motor work for me and a turbo kit for me and stuff like that a few times. And so I chose not to install the Pod 300 in this blue car for my son because it's just kind of a low boost factory motor build, and there's really never a reason. But now that I'm doing this plate and I'm already planning to build this thing more next year, or next season, so I'm going to go ahead and install this Pod 300. I'm really not sure I'm going to use it, but in the meantime I got it and it fills the hole, so it's gonna work for this purpose today. Next year when I build this car, I might do a standalone, which would not use a Power Commander at all. Okay, I'm gonna get the Allen wrench. I don't have that. Okay, so this is a 2.5 millimeter Allen head for the Weller provided bolts that fasten the Pod 300 from behind. I didn't use any Loctite or anything. I don't know if it's really necessary. These things do bounce around, but nothing's real heavy here. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now is get the blue plastic up here. I'm going to drill the holes for the mounting plate that work with these Weller included bolts with lock nuts on the back. And then I'm also gonna just kind of cut an opening that's big enough to kind of access these things from behind. I'll point it out, but basically, once this is on here, I want to be able to access not only the wire holes come through, but I'm also going to make it so that I can access these fasteners from behind. That way I wouldn't have to remove this from this in the future to unmount or tighten or whatever these electronic devices. Essentially, this plate and this piece of plastic will be permanently bonded together, I guess, maybe something like that. All right, so I just used that handy Milwaukee vibrating saw. I don't know what the technical term is, but it's nice. They work good for cutting plastic. And all I really did was draw a line between the 4 factory holes. Notice that is well within the holes that I'm gonna drill. So I've got about I don't know, half an inch there. I'm just gonna clean up this with a pocket knife just to get these boogers off. Just kind of slide it along here and get the obvious stuff. So be careful, don't cut yourself with the saw or the pocket knife. Also, don't scratch your plastics. This is really needless to do this. I'm just trying to do it so that, first of all, it looks like I actually care about this. Second of all, it will soften some of these edges so that you don't scratch yourself if and when you are working on the car and reaching in these holes from behind the body work. This is all going to be covered up, so none of it's going to be seen. And like I say, it's really not even a cosmetic thing. That's why my cut is pretty rough. Doesn't really matter. So 1/4 inch hole is what I'm going to do. This makes me nervous because it matters. It has to be pretty precise, and my bit already walked a little bit. Plus I'm on the painted surface, which I don't want to mess up. Sweet. Looks like that's gonna work. I'm just gonna clean this up. That's a number 4 Allen head on the bolts. My holes are not perfectly lined up, but since it's plastic, I can kind of force them in, and then the bolts kind of thread through the plastic as well as these nuts that are going to be on the back. I'm not using a washer or anything. I just don't think it's that necessary. These are pretty big bolts too. They're excessive for holding a piece of plastic up against a half-pound piece of metal. And those are 12 millimeters. These are 11. 11 millimeter nuts on the back with a 4 millimeter Allen on the front. Okay, I didn't really tighten any of those, but they're kind of snug. I'm just going to check. Looks pretty good. All right, I'm just going to hand tighten these now, not use the impact. And then we'll be going to the car. No torque value or anything. I'm just giving it a go. This is a nice ratchet. I'm pretty happy with these Milwaukee tools. I think I'm gonna go for it. I feel like this is a good opportunity for me to reiterate that I am not a professional, and also I am not paid or sponsored by any of these companies or products that I sell or that I talk about. I don't sell any of this stuff. This is not what I do for a living. I'm just a dude in a garage with some cool stuff, and I think a lot of people enjoy seeing what I'm doing and also get some information on just how another guy can do it. Another enthusiast here. So I pay full price for these parts that you see me installing, and I pay full price for my Yamahas and for my tools and all the stuff. Okay, sweet. So I just kind of tighten those down with an Ugga-Dugga, and now I'm gonna go over to the car. I do have to run this line, obviously, and I do have to run the Switch Pro wire, keypad wire up to this spot. Okay, so I just did a little mock-up. This is the old Switch Pro location down here. I'm just gonna pull that wire out the back And I'm actually gonna cut this right here because this is all covered up. And if you ever take this hood piece off, this big front fender piece off with an aftermarket cage, you need to cut that anyways, and it's all covered up. So I'm just gonna cut that and then pull my 2 wires up there. All right, so there's the cut I made. I've just got that Pod 300 cable just kind of thrown back there. I did not do a real clean job on the cut or anything. It is completely concealed and I just don't care. So I am laying this here for now because I have to route that Pod 300 wire beside the console. So I've got these pieces loose, and since that Pod 300 light is, or wire is kind of tethered, or it is tethered, I can't really fasten all that down. The Switch Pro is super easy. I already just pulled that wire up, and this is one end, and the keypad side is right here. Very easy and convenient. So I'm just gonna plug that in to this. That's super easy. And then this is the pod light. I keep saying light, I'm sorry. This is the pod wire that I'm going to route down through the console. All right, so I got that laid on there. Ran the wire back. Basically, it runs along here. I zip tied it back there, and so the Pod 300 plugs in. It's whichever one of these ports is open for you. There's 2 ports that really do the same thing. I'm not sure exactly what DynoJet calls it, but it's like their bus system. So as you see, the auto-tune module is plugged into one port, and then the Pod 300 is plugged into another port on my particular machine. So this piece just has one of these little fasteners here, these little plastic screw nut things. And then up here, it takes 2 10mm black bolts that hold on the plastics. It's kind of universal on this whole machine. Doing this one-handed here. Okay. So this piece, it's kind of the large part of the hood. So I will review this small front piece of the hood. I usually put this piece on before the large fender is put on because it kind of overlaps it. But it has this one 10mm bolt there. And then back here, it has these, let's see, I think it's this one on each side. And then it has several of these. I think there's 4 of the little plastic screws. And then to undo the big fender, you have to do a bolt that's under the nose. Right there. That bolt has to come off just to get the nose up. And then this piece right here just pops out and pops back in. And then refasten all of those. And then now this one is, gonna do my best not to scratch my fresh paint. So you kind of have to go high and then drop it down in for these tabs to interlock. Disregard that white. That's compound for buffing because the paint got buffed, and I just haven't washed it well since then. And then these are these little Allen head body bolts, nice and shiny looking. Last but not least, the interior console panel. Before I put all the plastic on, I powered this up and tested it. So my Switch Pro is doing its job. Lighten up everything, and then this is the Pod 300. I might do some other video just about it. I don't know all of the functions of this thing. I'm aware of a couple of functions. I know it can do logging, which is like the main reason I've used it, but it does have a gauge thing, so I leave it in 1 gauge. You can do 2, you can do 4, where it displays different information. So I just leave it on AFR, and what that is that's the O2 sensor for the auto tune, is just measuring the air fuel ratio of the exhaust of the actual output. So it's nice to kind of know that your tune is good or bad, but it's not really something that I bother myself with. As long as the car's running right, I just drive. I will start it up just so you can see. All right, well, that is today's video. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you want to see more YXZ and other side-by-side and automotive content. Thanks for watching.